Hey teachers, it's Les here. Just wanted to share another tip for you. Today we're going to talk about Google Tour Creator, which allows you to create 3D virtual reality tours using different views and images from the internet. It's a great tool sending your students out on virtual expeditions. Use images that are already online, 360 images, to create a different story. Today I'm going to give you a quick little example. I'm not going to make it too long, but show you a great way of using Tour Creator. So you need to go to arvr.google.com. Or if you just go into your browser and you just type Tour Creator, it will automatically prompt you with a Tour Creator, and again you'll get this screen. So here we are, we're Tour Creator, and let's get started. So when you open up Tour Creator, it's going to default you to a screen that's going to give you some previous examples. It's going to give you some previous works that you may have done. It's also going to give you templates. If you're going through the templates, you can scroll through and see that you have a whole bunch of different things like the eyes and Petra and Machu Picchu and different places, human anatomy. The solar system, the possibilities with this are endless. And I want to point out that although this is for AR, augmented reality and virtual reality, if you wanted to use VR goggles, that would make the experience a little more immersive, where the students feel right involved. But if you don't have them, it's still a great tool to try something new and have a little bit of fun with it. And it's really not hard. So let's go back to templates, and we're going to go to new tour. And if I can just share a little bit about the dashboard here and what it looks like, you're going to see here you have a title, cover photo, and a brief description. And let's just call this Museums of the World. Oops, and thank you for Google checking. And here where it says, let's say a description could be obviously what your tour is about. So if you wanted to do this about human anatomy, you may want to give just a brief description, but let's just say 5 of the best museums in the world. All right, it's going to give you category, and you could choose a category that you wanted to go under. You can go under travel and leisure, or since we're talking about museum, let's go about art. Again, the possibilities are limitless with this. It's going to ask you for a cover photo, and one website that I like to use is called Unsplash. And Unsplash is a royalty-free, non-copyright website that allows you to look for images and use certain images. So here you can see that an iconic museum would be the Louvre. I'm going to click here and go download photos. It's going to go download, yes. It's going to go into my downloads bar because I'm using my PC. For those that are using your Chromebooks, this would show up into your files menu, but now I'm just going to go back to Tour Creator. That's the old one, the other one. My apologies. I'm going to go back to my Tour Creator. Sorry, I had multiple ones open. Let's close that one. Tour Creator, and I'm just going to grab this image right here, and I'm going to drop that image right inside, and it's now giving me this Museums of the World. All right. So let's go to create. I've created basically a little slideshow here, or a little opening of what my VR experience is about. So I click the create button, and it's going to bring me up to Google Street View. And the reason why it brings me up to Google Street View is because there is an immense amount of 360 images where people have used 360 cameras, and that is primarily what VR, the virtual experience, is. Although some of you may just grab your camera and take a panoramic picture, you need to have a 360 camera. And as we move forward in the 21st century in 2020, a lot of people do have 360 cameras. So let's just go ahead with this. So let's start off with looking at some of Paris museums, and obviously the Louvre may be the first one. So in Google Street View, it's going to give you, or Google Maps, it's going to give you your search menu. And here we're looking for the Louvre Museum, and I'm going to drag my picture over here. And one of the things you'll see is that you can zoom in on the Louvre Museum and say that this is your location. What you will find is as you move the Louvre Museum, or the little icon guy around, you will see that you can find different places of 360 images within the museum. So if I wanted to move around and try and find the outside view, I could mark it as this right here. And let me move this one over here. So again, it's all about looking for those. And as we look here and I click inside my cursor, I can now see that I'm looking at the plaza, if it's called that, in the Louvre, and I could add this as a scene. So once I add it as a scene, it's going to mark this and allow me to start. Now, one of the things, I apologize for me shifting my, let me make myself small here in the corner. The first thing that you're going to see is a starting view. The starting view is where, when your scene opens up, what it looks like first. So I've chosen this as my starting view because I want to see the iconic pyramid, and I press starting view. So now when I choose this here and I go save, when it opens up this right here, it is going to save it as that main area, and this you could call, let's just call it the courtyard. And I apologize for not knowing the name of the pyramid. And in your description, again, this is where you would write a brief description of what the courtyard may be. And so courtyard or the plaza. If you've used a picture that has or that belongs to somebody, here's where you can give the credits to it. And now here's one of the really cool things about Google Tour Creator. You can add ambient audio. So if I click this button right here, it would allow me to add some ambient audio. So if you wanted to put, let's say, some French theme music to the background, you could do so. If you wanted to add a scene narration. So here's a great example of you asking your students to create a detailed report, let's say, of the famous museums of the world, and let's say the famous pieces of artwork in the world. And this is where they would give this description. So you could have the students type out the description of this certain area, or if you were looking, let's say, at a volcano and they wanted to add different facts about the different parts of a volcano. That's where they would write in the description, and they could also narrate it, so that not only do you read the description, you could have a narration. If you're in foreign language class, this might be a great way for the students to practice their language skills and speaking. So another cool thing that you can do with this is add a point of interest. So by clicking here, I can scroll around, and you'll see that I have this blue dot that allows me to select a point of interest. So if I was going to select this, I may say a point of interest as, although this is not a point of interest, but let's say you were creating a map of the bathrooms or of the Louvre and where you want it to go. I just jokingly am putting point of interest. You can also add image overlays. So again, if you wanted to add an audio note, the students would click on this and it would emphasize this point. And if you wanted to do an image overlay, you could click on this, and again, you could go to a website like Unsplash, and let's say this was the image and that was the doorway that they were looking at. As I download that one and I go back here, it could be me adding this point of interest right here. Sorry, I shuffle this around. I click add, and what it'll do is, if you give it a second, it'll create this overlay, and I can add this overlay here so that that image shows up and it expands more information. So once I have completed this scene, I can go to my next scene. So I've created the courtyard, and let's say that we want to have a look at the Mona Lisa. Now, with certain things like the Mona Lisa, you may have images that are there. Let's see if we can find the Mona Lisa in this one right here. So here, as we look in the room, we can see this whole area right here, and there we see the tiny Mona Lisa as we zoom in. So as students are looking at the Louvre itself, we could say, all right, I found the Mona Lisa, and I'm going to add this scene. And here we could type in the Mona Lisa, and I'm going to go here quickly, some information. And not that we would allow our students to do this, but just so you understand, I'm just going to copy this, go back, and in my description, I'm going to paste it. I could give credits to it. And again, as we look at the starting viewpoint, I'm going to go start viewpoint. I want to rotate it and choose this as my starting viewpoint and click save, so that when the scene opens up, I can continue on. Now again, if I wanted to add a point of interest, because as we zoom in here, I may do this and say, I want you to click here, and this I'll write as Mona Lisa, and I'm going to put a picture overlay again, and as I go to Unsplash and I type in Mona Lisa, let's see if it presents something with me. It shows this picture. So I'll click download free, as it gives us a little better example. I'm going to go back to my tour creator, and I'm going to add that image to my tour creator and click add. And it's going to show up, and we don't necessarily need it that big. but I will, let's say, put it there. And I am not going to do any narration with that. And I'm going to go publish to Poly. I'll put this as a public. You may want to have it as unlisted for your students as long as they just have the URL, but here I'll put unlisted, and I'm going to press publish. So as I go to, here's my VR link. As I go to view the tour, it's going to show up as this. So if I had my virtual reality goggles, I would be able to look around, and as you can envision me, I'm looking at my VR goggles as I turn from left to right and up and down. That is what I would see. So I would spin around, and here you see that it says scene 1, and I can scroll down a little bit. It just tells me that it's the 5 best museums in the world, and there it says courtyard. And as I scroll around, again, that point of interest. So if I click on the point of interest, oops, let me close my face here for a little while. And now you see that I've clicked on the point of interest, and I've made the picture small, but it tells me that there's public restrooms and where that entrance is. If I would have left that picture bigger, it would have expanded much larger, and I would be able to zoom in on it. So if we look down here, we'll notice that we have scene 2. I can click on the next scene, and again, it tells me the Mona Lisa. It gives me a little bit of information about it. And if I click this button, it'll take me right there. But again, if I was to look around this room, I could highlight the main artifacts or the main art pieces in that room. And again, as we look at 360, we can look at this virtually around. So again, you'll see that I have this key point here. So I click on it, and it shows the Mona Lisa and talks about that piece of artwork. So Google Tour Creator is a phenomenal tool. There are tons of lessons out there that you can search for if you look at Google Tour Creator activities. It's a great way for you to create, let's say, the Silk Road. And as before, you used to use Google Maps to create a map of different views, and then the students would have to, let's say, embed Google Slide into each of the different points so that you can share more information. Google Tour Creator has done this for us. It's a super fun tool. The possibilities are endless. If you look at some of the examples, so if I go back to Tour Creator, and lastly, again, if I just click on Tour Creator, it doesn't have to be a artwork. It doesn't have to be a journey of a destination or certain places. It's limitless with this because there's so many images out there. So if you look here as an example, here is a tour for photosynthesis. Obviously, this would be at a higher level. But here's the tour. I'm going to publish it quickly so that you can have a quick look at it. And this is already just a template. It was pre-made. It's not something that I made, but by just using some knowledge and searching for things, if the students lay out a plan of what they want to explain, you'll see here that it talks about the basics of photosynthesis. And here there was a 360 diagram where this was already put in place. And as you read the bottom of this, you'll see that photosynthesis explains the process. And then as you're looking through your VR goggles, if you are looking through VR goggles, you'll see that there's the points for them to click, and they can go through and learn more about it. So As you see here, again, I have another key point there. I click on that key point and it says oxygen is being born. And if I scroll around and look for more, there isn't anything else on that scene. But again, now if I go to the next scene, it gives me a brief overview of the pigments and the absorption of light. And click on this key point, it tells me what's happening. As I move my cursor around, it will tell me what that is about. So here's this one. It's giving me about the pigments, and so on and so forth. And you may be looking at this going, well, how do we know how to find these images? If you just do a Google 360 image search, you'll find them. And if it's a Google 360 image search that's been uploaded, and a lot of these images have been uploaded, they're going to be there for you to find. So I hope this was beneficial for you. Google Tour Creator is a great tool, one that your students can have a ton of fun with, and if you have VR goggles in your classroom, it just makes it even more immersive. So have fun with it, have a great day, and we look forward to the next tutorial.